All right. So the speed at which AI is like
Mm-hmm.
infiltrating everything, it's mind-blowing, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, think about it. To hit 100 million users, it took mobile phones, what, like 15 years?
Well,
The internet, 7. Facebook, 4, give or take. But then ChatGPT comes along and just, boom, 64 days.
yeah.
It's
It
insane.
just explodes.
The takeaway here, though, the big one, is this isn't just like another tech thing happening, you
Right.
know? It's
Uh-huh.
this massive acceleration that's changing how businesses work, how IT teams are having to think. It's huge.
I think what gets me is how quickly it's become real. It went
Yeah.
from this, future of tech idea to like, oh, this is happening now and businesses are scrambling.
Yeah.
For everyone listening, the big thing is it's not about if AI is going to affect your industry, but how fast and how much.
Exactly. So speaking of how, today we're getting into a platform that's like giving businesses the reins on this whole AI thing.
Yeah.
Microsoft Copilot Studio. Consider this your crash course.
Mm,
We're talking about building, customizing, making your own AI assistants, those copilots everyone's buzzing about.
Yeah.
And this deep dive is for everyone. I don't care if you're a tech whiz, if you manage IT, or you just heard AI and got curious. We're breaking this cutting-edge tool down.
It's really about making AI usable,
Yeah.
giving anyone, any organization, the power of these AI agents to actually do stuff, make things better. We're past the theory now.
Right. So our goal for you today, we want you leaving this understanding how companies are using Copilot Studio, what they're bumping into, and how we even got here to this whole generative AI Copilot world.
Yeah.
We're tracing the evolution of conversational AI from the early days to, well, what Copilot Studio can do today.
And that begs the question, how did we even get here? This whole conversational AI thing has had phases, right? Each with its own perks and drawbacks. Getting this evolution is key to understanding what Copilot Studio represents, what generative AI actually brings to the table.
Okay, rewind time. Back when things were, let's call it out of the box.
Yeah.
If a business wanted a bot, you were at the mercy of, like, these outside vendors.
Totally.
Tree-built solutions, not much wiggle room.
And think about how stuck you'd be. You're tied to this one vendor, can't really tweak things to match your business, the processes you've got. And the kicker, high costs, integration headaches, trying to fit it into your existing systems, and hoping it meets your specific compliance stuff. Nightmare.
Oh, the headaches. Imagine, right, you need to tweak your bot, like a policy change.
Yeah.
You're at the mercy of this vendor's schedule, their pricing delays, surprise costs, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
And those generic bots, they miss the nuances of your operations, even your brand's voice. Plus, trying to scale up for, say, a flood of online orders, huge pain, and someone else is managing it. Not ideal.
Not at all. So this pushes things forward. We get the pro code evolution. Companies are like, we got to control this. They start hiring devs, in-house teams, more control, more tailored bots in theory.
Control, yeah, but now you've got this reliance on skilled developers.
Yeah.
Good luck finding enough of those, right?
Exactly.
And imagine the communication breakdowns. It's focused on the tech side. The business folks know what the bot's supposed to do for you, for customers. Not always a smooth conversation.
And picture this. A retail company in this phase, right?
Okay.
They might use a framework, something like Bot Framework SDK, build a custom chatbot, handle specific questions. What's your return policy for electronics I bought online? That sort of thing. They host it themselves, can scale better for, say, Black Friday craziness, maybe even hook it up to their CRM, pull up your order history. Sounds good, right?
It does, but those downsides are still lurking. Slow development, those devs are probably juggling tons of projects.
Oh, yeah.
And if your business needs change, updates take forever. And that gap between what IT built and what the business actually wanted, you get a bot that's not quite hitting the mark for your users.
Happens all the time. And that takes us to the low-code evolution. Here's where things get interesting. Low-code platform may pop up, and suddenly more people in your company can get involved with bot building.
Right.
Fusion teams emerge. You got your business experts and your tech devs working together. Tools like Microsoft Power Virtual Agents become the name of the game.
Power virtual agents, democratizing the whole bot building thing. Non-technical folks can jump in, build, maintain, faster development, bots that actually match your business goals. Love it.
Absolutely. It was a game changer. People who understood the business, the customers, they could directly shape the bot. Faster, smarter, more aligned with what you actually needed.
And that leads us to now the generative AI-powered copilots era. Feels like a massive jump, honestly, with large language models like, OpenAI's GPT.
The revolution here is building bots using plain language. You tell it what you want, no code. Way faster. And the capabilities, they've exploded. These AI assistants can handle way more, have more meaningful conversations with customers, employees, whoever.
Which brings us to Microsoft Copilot Studio, right? This is a leader in this new world, promising better accuracy, faster adoption, and crucially, a better experience for whoever's interacting with your copilots.
Exactly. Copilot Studio is built to use generative AI to take this whole conversational AI thing to the next level. Now that you get the evolution, let's dig into what makes it tick, what makes it so powerful.
Okay, starting with the basics. Entities and variables. Here's the core idea. Copilot Studio lets you build intelligent conversation paths without needing to code.
And the key to all of this is NLU, natural language understanding. Your users talk to the Copilot naturally, like they're talking to a person. And as they chat, the agent remembers stuff like their name, birth date, for later, personalized.
Right, so it feels human. Then we've got entities. These are the things that give meaning to the conversation, the what of what's being said.
Exactly. Entities are the nouns, the stuff your users are talking about. Copilot Studio gets that. Then you have variables, which are like storage boxes for information. The Copilot remembers this stuff and uses it later. Dynamic, context-aware conversations.
So the generative AI part, it understands and makes text based on these entities and variables. Makes the whole thing flow better, less robotic.
Right. And Copilot Studio comes loaded with pre-built entities. Numbers, dates, locations, even people and colors. You don't have to teach it the basics.
Saves a ton of time. So if I type book a flight for March 15th to London, the pre-built entities for date and location, they grab March 15th and London automatically. The Copilot handles the request easily.
Exactly. Entities bring that crucial context, The Copilot extracts info, personalizes its responses, and automates tasks better.
But what if you need to get specific? Beyond those basic things, custom entities, right?
Yeah.
Tailoring it to your specific needs.
Correct. Custom entities. You define the information that's unique to you. Two main types. Closed list and regular expression, regex entities.
Okay, break those down. Closed list sounds like it's for, well, a closed set of options. When would you use that?
If you've got a specific list of things, imagine, for our retail example, you've got outdoor store categories, baseball, basketball, biking, camping, hiking. You make a closed list with those. And get this, smart match. It understands typos, variations. Someone types biking, it still gets it. You add synonyms, too. So trekking instead of hiking, same thing. The bot understands.
Smart match and synonyms, super helpful. What about regex entities? Those seem a bit more technical. When would you need those?
They are. Regex entities are for teaching the Copilot to recognize patterns of text. Like an article ID. Say, it's always 2 letters, then 6 numbers, like KB012345. You define the pattern with regular expressions. The Copilot grabs that exact data from what the user types. Super useful for internal systems, processes, you name it.
So closed list for specific categories, regex for more structured data. Got it. Yep. And we've got different types of variables, too. What's the difference?
4 types. First, topic variables. These are local to a specific conversation topic, only exist within that flow. Keeps things tidy. Then you've got global variables. As the name implies, these can be used across all topics, information you need throughout the entire conversation.
That's convenient. What about system variables? What do those do?
System variables are automatically made by Copilot Studio. They give you context about the conversation itself or the user. Think the current date, time, basic user info if they've logged in. Useful stuff, no extra effort.
Okay. And the last kind, environment variables. What are those for?
Environment variables are a bit different. They're made in the Power Platform, read-only in Copilot Studio. They store config stuff, API keys, service endpoints. The benefit is you can change these values without touching the bot's logic. Useful when you move the bot between environments, testing to production, for example.
Makes managing different stages easier. How do these variables get created and used to build those conversation paths?
Usually they're made automatically when you add a question to a topic. You ask a question, specify the type of info you expect, using those pre-built or custom entities, and boom, a variable is made to store the user's answer. You can rename it to something that makes sense. Like in our outdoor gear example, saving the user's preferred department into a variable linked to that outdoor store category's entity. Then you use that info to guide the rest of the conversation. Make it relevant.
Capture the info, personalize the interaction. Okay, now for making these copilots our own. Customization. Copilot Studio is super flexible.
It is. There are 4 main areas you can really tweak: knowledge, actions, logic, and channels. Lots of control to make the agent fit your needs.
Knowledge first. This is about giving your Copilot the info it needs to answer questions well, right?
Exactly. You can add sources during setup, website links, data files, basically feeding the Copilot with what it needs to give good answers.
And this is where generative answers come in again, right? The Copilot pulls info from all these sources, internal docs, websites, anything. It can use this directly or as backup if it doesn't have a specific pre-written answer. Way less manual work for you.
What's super helpful is Copilot Studio automatically makes this conversation boosting system topic with a generative answers node. You start using those sources right away. And you can add more in the knowledge section. Just enter URLs, link docs, easy.
With all that info coming in, how do you make sure the answers your users get are good, relevant?
That's where those content moderation settings come in. You've got high, medium, low. High gives you fewer but hopefully more accurate answers. Low gives more answers, but some might be less spot on. Finding that balance is key.
When you're adding stuff from URLs, anything to keep in mind?
Yeah, the URLs you give have got to be public and indexed by search engines. If it's behind a login or not indexed, the Copilot can't get to it.
What about uploading files directly? What types can you use and where do they go?
Word docs, Excel sheets, PDFs, text files, even some image formats if they're in PDFs, all stored securely in Dataverse. There's a limit based on your Dataverse storage, though. Good practice to add good descriptions to those files, too. Helps the AI understand the info better.
For serious scaling, we saw Azure AI Foundry mentioned. What's the big deal with that?
Foundry's for when you need to go beyond the basic knowledge stuff. You can bring in vectorized indices from Azure AI Search, access a bunch of pre-trained AI models, way more sophisticated for those complex needs.
And it simplifies that whole integration process, right?
Yeah.
Using advanced search with your own business data?
Totally. It's got custom RG, retrieval augmented generation right in the portal. Connect vectorized search to your data, no code needed. Simple.
Okay, knowledge covered. What about actions? This is where the Copilot actually does things for users, right? Connects to systems, automates stuff.
Right. Actions let the Copilot talk to your systems in real time, automate stuff based on what the user's doing, different types you can use.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Well, for simple workflows, you've got Power Automate flows. Think of it like the Copilot calling out to another app to do something, like asking a weather app for the forecast. Then there are Power Virtual Agents connectors. These are pre-built links to various apps, Microsoft ones and others. And for more advanced scenarios, the ones that need code, there are bot framework skills.
Let's dive into Power Automate. How does that work with Copilot Studio?
So with Power Automate, you make these automated workflows that get triggered by what the user does in the Copilot. Like if they ask for the weather in a city, the Copilot uses Power Automate to grab that info from a weather service and tells the user. But it can do more complex stuff too, like updating databases, scheduling things, even creating support tickets, all based on what the user does. You define what goes into the flow and what comes out.
Powerful stuff. Yeah. What about these prompt actions that use AI Builder? How do those help?
Prompt actions use AI Builder to create more dynamic interactions. Instead of just asking a basic question, you use generative AI to make prompts that guide the user towards giving you the info you need. The trick is to be specific in your prompts, use examples, keep it simple, and always let the user say they don't know or back out. And test, refine, test, refine. AI Builder has a nice interface for building and testing these prompts, and you can use them all over Power Platform, including Copilot Studio. Makes the conversations better.
So prompt actions guide the conversation. Power Automate actions execute tasks. What about the difference between flow actions and skill actions? When would you use which?
Flow actions, those are for the simpler tasks, like placing an order, checking on an order. Skill actions are for when you need more back and forth, more complex stuff, like scheduling a meeting or booking a flight.
Okay, makes sense. We've got knowledge actions. What about logic, the third customization area?
Logic is all about setting those paths for the conversation, making sure it flows nicely, stays on topic based on what the user says and how the Copilot is set to respond. You use those variables and entities we talked about to create branching paths, guide the user through the conversation so they get what they need.
And lastly, channels. This is where users actually interact with the Copilot, right? What's important here?
Right. Channels are the different places you can make your Copilot available. Web chat, email, Microsoft Teams, Facebook, all that. The key thing is you can tailor how the Copilot acts and looks depending on where it's being used. Give each user the best experience for that specific channel.
Same logic, different presentation depending on whether it's on a website or in Teams. Nice.
Exactly. And now remember, generative answers. Big idea here is moving from trying to predict every question to being able to understand a huge range of them.
Right. Generative answers. Your Copilot's making content on the fly, using info from all those sources you connected, adapting, learning from the latest data, always up to date.
The point is, when a user asks something that isn't in a pre-written topic, the Copilot doesn't just say, I don't get it. It uses AI to figure out the question and then goes hunting through your knowledge bases for the answer. Much more helpful.
That's great for those unexpected questions. What are some real-world uses?
Imagine customer support. Someone asks a super specific question about a product. The Copilot uses generative answers, pulls info from product docs, FAQs, everything, gives a good answer right away. No need for a human agent. Saves time and money. Or, think an internal knowledge base. It fetches the latest policies, procedures, whatever. Super handy.
Big change from those old-school, manually written topics where you had to guess every question.
Huge. It was so much work to write answers for every possible thing. Generative AI flips the script. Instead of crafting each answer, the AI just makes them using all its knowledge and your data. Huge time saver. It lets you scale up the Copilot's abilities without tons of work, keeps the conversations relevant and fresh.
Okay, walk us through how this generative answer magic happens.
Multi-step process. First, the Copilot gets the question, filters out any bad stuff, flags any questions that are too personal, that sort of thing. Then, for general knowledge, it uses Bing to search online. But, important point, this is usually limited to domains you've pre-approved, keeps things relevant and safe. Bing finds the top results, the most relevant ones.
So it's not just searching the entire internet willy-nilly.
Nope. Targeted search within your boundaries. Then, these top results go to a language model, like GPT. It processes the info and makes a good answer. But before sending it out, it goes through another filter, makes sure it's accurate, appropriate, checks where the info came from. Then, the answer goes to the user, often with citations or links to the sources. Transparent.
A good system for accuracy and safety.
Yeah.
What about the behind-the-scenes stuff? How does it handle all these different sources you might connect?
Few key things. Query rewriting. It adapts the user's question to work best with each source. It even considers what was said before for more context, better answers. And then there's response validation. Super important. Make sure the AI's answer is actually based on your knowledge and not made up. Checks for citations, verifies that the info backs up what the AI said, and then, of course, the sources themselves. Websites, SharePoint, OneDrive, Dataverse, Microsoft Graph, soon even Microsoft Fabric, plus your uploaded docs, even Azure OpenAI on your data. Lots of options.
Sounds like they're always working on improving those AI answers.
Oh, yeah. Advanced tuning, more third-party sources, better REG techniques, even letting you curate and fine-tune your knowledge based on the analytics, and they're using the latest GPT models. Get this, you can now upload images and ask the Copilot about them.
Image analysis in a chatbot. That's next level. What about voice-enabled agents?
Yes. Generative answers work for voice now. The system formats the text-to-speech output automatically. Seamless voice interaction. They're even adding multimodal stuff, so you can use generative AI in voice solutions like IVR. Users talk to the agent, upload images, the agent analyzes them and answers using voice, really expands the possibilities.
Impressive stuff. Before we get too excited about the features, let's talk about making sure these copilots actually work, right?
Yeah.
Testing, publishing, all that.
Crucial step. Got to test for quality, reliability before you let users at it. Copilot Studio has tools for real-time testing, debugging, simulate conversations, find any issues. Once you're confident, publishing makes it available everywhere your users are.
So, you've built your fancy Copilot. Now, how do you keep an eye on it and make sure it's working well?
Can't just set it and forget it. You got to analyze how it's performing, find things to improve, make sure it's doing what it's supposed to. Things like escalation rates, when users need a human, abandonment rates, when they drop off, and resolution rates, how often it answers the question correctly. Those are key.
So if you see a lot of escalations for a certain topic, maybe the Copilot's not handling those questions well. Time to revisit, make it better.
Exactly. Analytics also show you common questions, so you know what to prioritize, what info to add. You get detailed stuff, satisfaction scores, transcripts of whole conversations, insights into content moderation. The system can even spot gaps in its knowledge, questions it couldn't answer or answered poorly.
And where do you find all this data?
The Analytics tab in Copilot Studio, it shows you user interactions, effectiveness, trends over time. They've added new analytics specifically for knowledge sources and session data, too. Shows trends for engagement, satisfaction, and you can drill down for more details. Lots of good info.
So it's all about using data to make your Copilots better over time.
Yep. Track those metrics, see which knowledge sources are doing well, investigate errors, look for trends, and use all that feedback to improve.
As you build more of these copilots, how do you manage them all?
Power Platform provides a structured way to do that.
That's where managing agents comes in. They're stored within Power Platform solution. Sounds organized.
Yeah, this is important. Solutions let you manage multiple agents in a structured way. And it enables ALM, Application Lifecycle Management. Think of it like a structured way to handle the Copilot's whole lifespan. You can move agents between environments, like from development to testing to production, by exporting and importing them. Organized, controlled deployment. Plus, solutions can have reusable parts, less redundant work, and support collaboration for teams.
So it's not just random bots floating around. There's a system. What about control and governance, especially for bigger companies?
Well, since Copilot Studio is a global SaaS platform, you don't manage the infrastructure. Microsoft handles all that. Scalability, centralized control. It also meets a bunch of regulatory standards, which is important if you're in a regulated industry.
HIPAA, FedRAMP, all that.
All covered. Microsoft also has this Power Platform Starter Kit. Best practices, governance insights, helps you scale securely as you use more AI, and the admin features are strong. Global availability, support for lots of languages, even government clouds.
Data security is always a big one. What's in place to protect that?
Data security is huge for Microsoft. Copilot Studio uses encryption for data that's stored and data that's moving. It supports DLP, data loss prevention policies, and it meets GDPR and other privacy rules. The generative AI stuff follows Microsoft's responsible AI principles. Transparency, fairness, all that good stuff.
There's something about environment routing, too. What's that for?
Environment routing is all about security. Developers are automatically sent to pre-configured environments with specific security rules and access controls. No more building in a single default environment, which could be risky, like giving each team their own secure workspace.
Makes sense. Then there's environment groups and rules. How do those help with governance, especially at a larger scale?
Those are for managing lots of environments. Environment groups let IT admins group similar environments together. It makes it easier to manage like tens of thousands of them at once. Environment rules let you lock down certain settings so lower level admins can't change things that should be company-wide. Consistent governance across the board.
So routing, groups, and rules all work together to make adding new developers and setting up new environments more automated and standardized.
Exactly. Streamlines the whole process, keeps everything secure from the start, saves time, less risk.
DLP policies within Copilot Studio itself were mentioned too. What kind of control do those give you?
DLP policies in Copilot Studio let you stop unauthorized AI deployments, block the bot from accessing the internet if you need to, and control which knowledge sources and connectors it can use. Make sure no sensitive data accidentally gets out.
What about authentication? Making sure only the right people are using your copilots.
By default, it's Microsoft Entra ID authentication in Teams and Power Apps. Only people in your organization can use the bot. You can also manually set things up with certificates for extra security. And if you block internet access for developers, no authentication gets turned off automatically. Even more secure.
Sounds like a lot of tools for managing and securing these agents.
It is, and it's not just about setting things up once. You got to monitor, adapt, take steps to make sure everything stays secure and compliant.
Purview integration was mentioned too. How does that fit in?
Purview adds some serious data discovery and protection, specifically for AI. It's got default policies for data security posture management for AI. It can find sensitive info being added to AI sites and spot risky AI usage. There are also default data security policies to protect sensitive data used in generative AI, like blocking sensitive info and applying sensitivity labels. Basically, your existing data governance now covers AI too.
So your data governance framework is extended to cover the specific challenges of AI.
Right. And the audit data, it helps identify any data oversharing risks, gives you insights into Copilot interactions in your Microsoft 365 apps.
Any news on how Copilot Studio billing might change?
Yeah, as I use more Azure AI, Microsoft's thinking about adding a consumption-based billing option. You'd pay based on how many Copilot Studio messages you use. More flexible.
We can't talk about AI without mentioning responsible AI. Microsoft seems to be taking that seriously.
They are. Microsoft's been on this responsible AI journey for a while now. They've got these principles: fairness, reliability and safety, privacy and security, inclusiveness, transparency, and accountability. Those guide everything they do with AI. And they've got tools, processes, training, a whole governance framework to help companies put these principles into practice.
And that commitment extends to the entire Microsoft cloud. It's about users owning and controlling their data.
Trust is super important for Microsoft Cloud. That means users control their data and it's protected. High standards.
It's good to see security, governance, and responsible AI being taken seriously with platforms like Copilot Studio. It's not just about powerful AI, it's about building it the right way.
Exactly. Compliance builds trust, and Copilot Studio is designed with that in mind. It follows those industry standards we talked about. Plus, they've got tools within Copilot Studio. Conversation tracking, conversation allocation, capacity alerts, an overview dashboard.
And those quotas help manage the load on the service, keep things stable for everyone.
Right. Quotas prevent things from getting overwhelmed. Like in a paid Dataverse environment, there's a limit on messages per minute. Something to keep in mind.
We also learned about different admin roles. Global admin, Power Platform admin, delegated admin. Each one has different access and control.
Understanding those roles is important. Helps you set up a good security and governance structure. The right people have the right access, the right responsibilities.
And the analytics dashboard, it gives you a summary of how things are going. Total sessions, engagement rate, outcomes, all that.
Valuable info. Helps you see how your copilots are being used, how effective they are, and the billing analytics show you how much you're using based on sessions. Clear picture.
It's all connected, isn't it?
Yeah.
The platform, the tools, the security, the responsible AI.
It is, and it's all built on Dataverse. Secure, compliant foundation for Copilot Studio. Structures the data, the logic for everything you build. And Dataverse uses Azure for compute, storage, events. Plus, it has its own security features, environment roles, resource permissions.
We talked about data loss prevention in Copilot Studio again. All about preventing data leaks, controlling publishing, channel permissions, how you use bot framework skills and Power Automate connectors.
Important stuff. And in Copilot Studio's security settings, you control authentication, channel security with direct line, and you can make a list of trusted connections. Lots of layers.
And it's all guided by those responsible AI principles.
Right. Fairness, reliability, safety, privacy, security, inclusiveness, transparency, accountability. Those guide how Microsoft builds AI, and they should guide how you use it too.
This has been a deep dive. We've gone through a lot. From the early days of conversational AI to the nitty-gritty of building, customizing, managing, and governing AI copilots with Copilot Studio.
It has been. We've seen that shift from basic bots to generative AI and how Copilot Studio gives you a platform to create intelligent assistants. The customization, the management features, the security, it's all there.
It's not just about chatbots. It's about giving you the power to use AI in ways that matter. Automating things, better service, real change.
So think about your own work, your organization. What processes could be changed with an AI copilot? What repetitive tasks could be automated so you can focus on bigger things? That's the real potential of Copilot Studio, turning those ideas into reality.